Hey everybody. Today we are going to be talking about 4.5 for OnShape. Okay, you guys are going to be drawing all 12 of these objects in OnShape today, starting today. They're all going to be in the same document, but they're going to be in different part studios. And I'm going to explain to you exactly how that works as we go through. As we go to count the squares, each square is going to count as 1 inch in OnShape. Okay, so when we work on number 1 here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's 8 long, so it's going to be 8 inches long. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches high. And the depth of this object is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So again, 5 inches deep. Okay, and just like before, we need to decide what view is the best view to start on for each one of these. Some of these drawings can be done in one sketch. Some of these drawings, like number 1 for instance, require more than one sketch. So let's go through number 1, setting this thing up, and then you guys will get started from there. So documents here, we're going to open up your folder. Okay, and this is where you're going to start creating your documents. We're going to say create, and we're going to say document, and we're going to name this document 4.5. I'm going to say okay. Then, once the Part Studio opens up, down here in Part Studio 1, we're going to right click, and we're going to rename this, and we're just going to call this Problem 1. Okay? So, the best way to start this problem, and you should be going through this yourself, is on the front view. So we're going to say front, and again I'm going to twist around so I look at the front. Now you want to be careful. Every time you hit the check mark, you create a new sketch over here. And then if you're like, oh man, I erased that, and now you start a new sketch, like this old sketch is still here and it's not doing anything, right? So if you're out of your sketch and you want to go back and edit it, double click on sketch 1. So G for a rectangle. Again, we always want to start at the origin. So I'm going to sketch on my front. And then starting on my origin, I'm going to produce my rectangle. So again, the length of this rectangle is 8 inches. Enter. The height of this rectangle is 5 inches. Enter. Now, let's swing that down. We need to pull up our line tool, and we can start to again put like the L part of this in. And when we come back to OnShape, the height of that thing is 2 inches. Let's see if I can zoom in on this somewhat. It's 2 inches high, it's 2 boxes high, and it's 2 boxes long in that direction. So when I go to dimension between here and here, I'm going to say that that's 2. I'm going to say that this is also 2. And I'm going to trim these other 2 lines out of here, right? We could leave them and just extrude as is, but we can also use the trim tool, which is the scissors up here, or M for shortcut, and we can just select this line. And because this vertical line intersects that horizontal line, it will trim till it hits that vertical line. You can trim this away as well. Make sure that you started your line on the edge of the rectangle on both the top and the side to make that work. All right, so I can hit Shift and 7 to go back to isometric, and I can click the check mark to finish my sketch. Now I can hit Shift and E to extrude, and I'm going to select my surface. And again, the depth of this object is 5 boxes, so I'm going to select 5 and click the check mark. Okay? And once again, once you've done that, you really don't need the work planes over there. You can even turn off the origin right now, and that'll be fine. Okay, so now I'm going to need 2 more sketches for this project. Where's my... I'm going to need a sketch for this top here, and I'm going to need a sketch to cut that out too, because they're on different planes. I can't do it at the same time. Okay, So I guess let's work on the back here. So the back is an inch from either side and it's an inch down. It's like this cutout in there. All right, so when I come back, I'm going to start a new sketch on the back. I'm going to swing around to that. Or it's not the back, I'm sorry, it's like the right here. And I'm going to draw my box, hit D for dimension, and again, from the top, we're 1 inch away. And from each side, we are also 1 inch away. Now I can't trim this top line at this point because it's the whole line is part of the other part, okay? I do want to make sure that it's started on the top. I go to check, and again I go to Shift and F7, or I'm sorry, Shift and 7 and Shift and E for extrude. I can select this surface. I can remove this surface, and instead of going a specific depth, I'm going to say through all, so it goes to the back of the object, and I'm going to say check. Okay. Last sketch here is the bottom. Oops. So I just created that sketch and then I deleted that sketch, or I didn't delete it, but I just stopped doing it. So instead of creating a new sketch, I should just be able to double click on sketch 3, and now I'm back in editing it. So I'm going to swing to the top. I'm going to hit G for the rectangle tool, and I'm going to produce this part here. So let's go check those dimensions again. This one's a little tough. It's not that tough, but it's a box and a half, so that's 1.5 inches from either end. And it's what, 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes long, so 4 inches long. So when I go to dimension, length of this thing is going to be 4, and then it's going to be 1.5 inches from this edge and 1.5 inches from this edge. I'm going to finish my sketch. Shift and 7, Shift and E. Select this box. And again, I'm going to remove. And again, instead of saying a specific number, I'm going to say through all, because I want it from the top to the bottom of this surface. And I'm going to say check. Okay, and that's the end of part 1. So now we're going to move on to part 2. And again, this is going to be within the same document, but it's going to be in a new part studio. So we're going to see all 12 parts underneath a 4.5. So down here, we're going to click the plus sign. We're going to say create part studio. Okay, now we have a new part studio. We're going to call this part studio, right click, rename. That's right, you guessed it. Problem 2. Okay, and then we can work on problem 2, and then I can create a new part studio, and I can right click on this and rename this one, and I can say problem 3. And you're going to do that all the way up through problem 12, working on each one of these things. Okay, so this is mostly individual work. As you're going through this, if you have questions for me, feel free to reach out. All right, but I'm going to leave you at that for today. And we'll go from there. Okay. Make sure that you put this in your folder, okay, the one that's shared with me. All right, bye-bye.